Today we're going to be taking a look at my Hexblast Witch build. Now, of course, I didn't come up with this. This has been around for a while, but this is my twist on it. And I've been seeing pretty good results with it, so I thought I would share. We have Ingenuity, and we have Second Wind. This basically makes it so if we need to shift out of Demonform, maybe the stacks are getting too high, we can immediately go back into Demonform. Very convenient. Then we have Summon Infernal Hound. We're mostly taking the Infernal Hound here for damage reduction purposes. Minion Mastery, Last Gasp, Meat Shield, and Elemental Army. So you can see our skill gems here are all about making him tankier. Then we have Hexblast here. This is our main damaging spell. We have Inspiration for reduced mana cost because Hexblast is a very expensive spell to cast. Chaos Mastery for extra damage. Arcane Tempo for more casting speed. And we have Controlled Destruction for more damage because with the Demonform build, we can't really build critical hit chance because we don't have a weapon and we don't have an offhand. So it just makes sense to use this particular skill gem. Now, Blasphemy applies our curses to all enemies within a certain radius of us. It's very useful because we can apply Despair, which increases the damage they take from us, and we can apply Enfeeble, which reduces the damage they deal to us. We also have Heightened Curse, which increases the effect of our curses, and we have Magnified Effect, which increases the radius of our Blasphemy, which is very important because we need the radius as large as possible in order to make it easier for us to move around and dodge projectiles and such, and you don't have to worry about melee so much. We're mostly using Contagion for Chaotic Freeze to apply a crowd control to tougher enemies so we can burst them down before they can hurt us, and Mobility is just here because there's really nothing better to use. And then we have Raise Zombie, which might seem like a weird ability, but just hear me out for this. So we're not running a summoner type build at all, but the way we're using Raise Zombie is we're using it to apply Wither to the enemies. So the zombies will attack the enemies, they will apply Wither, and Wither increases the chaos damage that the enemy takes. So it directly increases our Hexblast damage. And we're also using Martial Tempo to increase the zombies' attack speed so they apply Wither even faster. Now the reason we're using Profane Ritual is so we can spawn zombies whenever we need to. Most of the time that's going to be during a boss fight. And the way we do that, whenever you use Profane Ritual, you gain a power charge. And the power charge can be spent to spawn a zombie without a corpse. And the skill gems we're using for Profane Ritual are Profusion, which gives us a chance to get an additional charge so we don't have to cast it so much, but also Unleash, which makes it so we only have to cast Profane Ritual once to cap out our power charges. So it's going to be more convenient to use this skill. You just cast Profane Ritual once, you get 3 power charges, these last 20 seconds, and you can take it to any boss encounter and spawn your zombies right on top of the boss, and the zombies will whack the boss, they'll apply Wither to them, you'll get a 50% damage bonus. It's great. Now let's take a look at the passive tree. As you can see, I am missing an Ascendancy here, but the idea is we have Hellhound, we have Demonform, and ideally we would go for Altered Flesh for additional damage reduction. Now as for the rest of our points here, you can see that we're going Energy Shield. Now the reason we're going Energy Shield is because we are using this helm right here, the Mask of the Stitched Demon. This will provide us life regeneration based on our maximum energy shield. And life regen is kind of hard to get on the passive skill tree because most of the life regen is located in the warrior section. And that's kind of far away, so. In addition to that, we're also taking a lot of mana regeneration and max mana because our hit points are basically going to be our mana points. We're also taking cast speed because casting speed helps with our DPS and also helps keep us mobile. Then we have minion life here. This is good for our Hellhound. It makes sure that he doesn't die too quickly so we can keep that damage mitigation from him. We're using a couple attribute nodes here to meet our requirements for whether it's gear or for skill gems or whatever, but mostly you want to be taking intelligence. Then we're taking area effect here. This translates to more range for our curses as well as more AoE for our Hexblast, so it's really good just for everything. And we're also taking the energy shield nodes here. This also grants mana regeneration, which is great. We're getting increased area effective curses. This allows us to cast our Hexblast even farther away from us. And also, it causes the enemies we curse to get hindered, which is really nice. We also have this little path here. This causes hindered enemies to take 30% increased damage. And this is amazing because they're going to be hindered all the time because they're permanently cursed when they're within our radius. And then we have increased cast speed right here. Like I said before, casting speed is good for both DPS and mobility. And we also get some mana regen here. It's just everything we need, really. And then right here we have Eldritch Battery. Now it's up to you whether you want to take this or not, but there's so many things that can one-shot you in the tier 15 level, so I would highly recommend you take this. We're taking most of the mana regeneration here, not just because Hexblast is an expensive skill, but also because mana regeneration helps our survivability. If we regenerate fast enough, then we can shrug off the small hits, which is really nice. We also take Patient Barrier up here. This is a huge increase to our maximum energy shield, which is an increase to our life regen, which is what we need to sustain ourselves in Demonform. We also take Whispers of Doom here. This allows us to apply an additional curse to our enemies, so we get double the value from our Blasphemy. Now the next major thing we go for is Master of Hexes. The curse duration doesn't really matter because the curses are applied permanently as long as the enemy is within our radius. Now we're also going to take Void here. This makes it so enemies we curse have negative 3% resistance to chaos, and since they'll always be cursed, this will always come into play. It's great. Now this is a really important one right here, Heavy Buffer. This both increases our maximum energy shield, aka our life regeneration, and it also reduces our maximum life, which is perfect for a Demonform build. Next, we're taking Mind over Matter. This makes it so all damage that we take comes from our mana before our life. And the reason this is so important is because our life, as you can see, is really low. We only have 176 max HP. We're going to get one shot. We have to take this, otherwise we die. So yeah, we have about 2300 max mana, or you could even call it max life. And that's also why we're taking so many mana regeneration nodes here. And then we're going to take this entire section here. This is just increased area effect. This is spectacular for both our curses and our Hexblast. When it comes to the jewels we're taking, we kind of want to mix. Like whatever we're lacking, we want to supplement our build that make up for whatever we're lacking, basically. So in my case, I wanted more spell damage and more casting speed, so I took a couple blue ones here that provided that for me. And I also got area effective curses. And we also have some red ones here to supplement our area of effect and our life regeneration rate. And yeah, that's mostly the build right now. The next thing I'm going to go for is Vile Mending. This will make my Hellhound tankier, and it will allow me to use Minion Pact in my Hexblast skill. And as for our items here, well, you already know that we're using Mask of the Stitched Demon. This allows us to obtain very high life regeneration rates. As you can see, if I take it off, my life regen falls off a cliff. So this is a big part of the build. You really can't take this off. And Ghost Writhe is pretty much mandatory as well. This converts more than half of your max life into energy shield, which makes it easier for you to sustain your Demonform. And it also feeds into the life regen of the Stitched Demon Mask. Now we're also taking Ming's Heart. This reduces your maximum life and provides a lot of bonus damage to your Hexblast. And with these 4 items right here, your Chaos Resist should be maxed out, so you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to worry about the rest of your resistances, which are not going to look so great, because you only have 3, maybe 4 pieces of spare gear to make up for all of your lacking resistances. So for the rest of your gear, you want gloves that have triple resistances on them. I would get triple resistances, but it's kind of expensive, so I just had to settle for dual resistances. Make sure you socket all your gear with all resist gems, by the way. Now the thing about the belts and the boots is that you need life regen on as many pieces of gear as possible, so you can only have 2 resistance modifiers on a piece of gear if you have life regeneration. So you have to kind of juggle your resistances among different parts of gear. You can see here I have cold and lightning, over here I have fire and lightning, and over here I have cold and lightning. So I'm trying to get all of them to 75, but it is a challenge. For the boots, like I said, you want mana, resistances, life regeneration, and energy shield on as many gear pieces as possible. Now the amulet is a bit special here. You want to get spirit as the implicit modifier, and you also want spirit on the explicit modifier. The reason for this is that it allows you to socket 2 curses into your blasphemy. As you can see, I have both despair and enfeeble in my blasphemy, but I also managed to get enough spirit to also socket heighten curse. Now the other things ideally you would have on your amulet would be life regen, mana regen, all elemental resistances, and maximum mana. And as for your charm, you want either the charm that prevents you from being stunned, or the charm that prevents you from being frozen. While this build is pretty tanky, you will die if you get stunned, probably. So yeah, let me know what you think of the build in the comments. Thanks for watching.